start by asking, of course this is based on an Icelandic film. I was just wondering, when you saw that, did you think instantly, I want to make a remake of this?
I thought about it before I saw it.
How did that work?
A friend of mine was telling me about it, and I thought, oh, that sounds really cool, I want to remake it. Well, where can I find it? And he said, I don't know. He hadn't even seen it, but he just read about it. And so then I found it, I watched it on an airplane. I got a DVD of it, and I thought, from the moment I was watching it with the intention of remaking it. And I didn't even know anyone that had seen it.
Yeah.
His friend had a friend whose friend was working on it, or had worked on the original, and he was telling him about it. So it was kind of this weird process, really very backwards, where I had a location that I knew I wanted to make a movie. And, every day, I'm sure you do the same thing. You're walking around and you go, oh, that'd be a cool movie, or why don't people make movies here? Or that'd be a great actor in a movie. We always think that. But then I was just kind of in this weird position where I found this cool location. I thought, I need to make a movie here. And then I was just talking to my friend who was telling me about this movie, and it's like, oh, I could take that idea and film that here. I hope that movie's good. And then I really loved the movie. I kind of flipped out for it, and the producer and director of the original film were really open to what we wanted to do with it, and it came together really quickly.
So had you seen it and you didn't like it, would that have changed whether you would have made a remake?
Yeah, if I didn't like it, I would have probably made a documentary about the fire itself and some of the victims of the fire there in Central Texas.
So was it quite difficult to kind of remain faithful to the original and yet bring your own kind of unique sort of directorial stamp onto proceedings?
Not really. I don't look at a remake any different than adapting a novel. I mean, there's this weird stigma to it, but then you'll see the restaging of an opera that has a prestigious legitimacy to it, or taking a novel and redefining it or changing the ending. You kind of take a seed of an idea or even a structure or outline of an idea and you make it your own. So I just really saw it as a way to transcribe something that I thought was really cool, character dynamic, and a very simple, seemingly simple narrative, and then personalize it and give these characters a voice that resonated something within me.
And of course, the setting is actually a place that's in the wake of a kind of real wildfire. Did that add a kind of chilling kind of atmosphere to the set, knowing that all the themes that you're dealing with in the film have actually kind of taken place in real life?
It brought a real honesty to the way that we approached it, and there's a lot of comedic elements of the movie. It's not a comedy per se, but it helped us keep that in check. It actually kept a nice, healthy balance between the comedy and the drama, because the second you'd get silly, you'd see where you were and the ashes you're walking in and the people that have lost their homes and had their lives very affected by this event, and it brought you back down to earth.
So there was one incredible scene with Jane Payne, I believe.
Joyce, yeah.
Joyce, sorry, my bad. Joyce Payne, and she obviously she discovered her house was kind of ruined in the fire, and she was looking for her pilot license. Mm-hmm. And she was real. How did you discover her and her story?
Actually, my producer Craig Zobel and my assistant director Attila were location scouting. We were looking for a home where we were going to do this pantomime scene with Paul's character, and they drove by and saw this woman out in the ashes of her home looking for her pilot's license. They started talking to her, and then they called me up and said, "Okay, I think we've found a location that would work for you, but more importantly, found a person that you need to utilize here." And so I went out there with Paul and we filmed it, and he was kind of going around in the remains of her home as she was experienced. Actually not. She kind of used it as a strange therapy, I think. She kind of went about it in a very healthy way, like talking about the event, and we spent a couple hours there with her and a very small crew, and then integrated her into the narrative, and it was just kind of a fun, organic way that when you don't have the burdens or logistics of a big budget production, you can take these kind of detours and tangents with your concepts.
I mean, the film sort of drifts kind of effortlessly between being comedic and also being very kind of emotional and quite poignant. Was that quite a difficult thing to achieve as well?
It was difficult only in the sense that sometimes we had great comedic opportunity that wasn't appropriate for a movie that was going to try to have an emotional reality to it. I mean, there were several things that I thought were hilarious that we would film and that would be really well executed, but in the editing room we thought, as funny as this is or as genuine as this feels, it compromises the emotional reality, so we'd leave those on the editing room floor. And so it does become somewhat challenging to find the balance and the honesty of it, because you can get caught up in making one scene specifically really strong, but then you realize what that does to a few scenes away, how it could damage it, and so sometimes you have to make some hard choices and drown your darlings.
I was wondering as well, because I mean, I think Paul Rudd kind of epitomises that balance between kind of tragedy and kind of comedy. But he is renowned predominantly for his comedy. But what was it about him that you knew would work so well in this more dramatic, more emotional role, I suppose?
Well, I'm a big fan of the film The Apartment and Billy Wilder's movies, and I think that what Paul really brings to the table is kind of a contemporary Jack Lemmon character, where there's a very recognizable, familiar quality that he has, a very relatable quality. He doesn't have this untouchable, glamorous movie star appeal. He has an everyman anonymity to him, and we've seen him be really funny. But just as Lemmon in his day, I think Paul can kind of balance that likable presence, that humor, with something that's really touching and sincere.
As for yourself, I mean, you obviously made a few kind of more dramatic indie pieces before moving into the big kind of Hollywood comedy films. Was it quite kind of reinvigorating to go back to this kind of smaller budget, kind of more dramatic kind of piece of cinema?
In a lot of ways, it was exciting artistically, because there was no one second guessing us, or no one we had to defend ourselves or ask for more money because there wasn't any money. You know, once you get the logistics off your back, you're in a very intimate setting with very minimal equipment. So if you need something, you don't have it, and you accept that, and then you're very liberated. If you need that, then you're extremely frustrated. So there's times when you wish you had a Steadicam for a shot, but you don't have one, and you couldn't afford it if if it was available to you. So so you're holding a camera up and down a hill, back and forth, at a very unideal pace in composition. But the beauty of what this film did for me personally is it showed me really the craft that my crew has excelled in and has gained over the years. Like, we've made 9 features together now, and for the most part a very strong collaborative group of friends of mine that went to film school together, and we started out making low budget movies, and our early movies were always burdened by the insecurity of either the finances or our own ability. And at this point, having the experience and having worked with so many people of strength and so much charisma, we realized how efficient a machine that we had. And so we brought a lot of confidence to the table on this project, where we had an 18-day shoot scheduled, and we wrapped it in 16 because we were just blazing through things, because we could read each other's minds, and we realized how much of the larger productions, how much by necessity that you spend, how much time you spend talking about making movies, or having a meeting about making a movie, or doing storyboards, or pre-visualization for your movie, or doing stunt rehearsals and safety inspections for your movie. This is one that we didn't have any of that, and we could just, breathe the film and the story and the characters.
So my final question, I was just wondering, is your next film is Joe with Nicolas Cage. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that, because we're very excited to see it. I'm
very excited too. I hope you'll join me in Venice next week, where we're going to unleash the movie. It's kind of a modern-day Western, starring Nicolas Cage and Ty Sheridan, who was the young actor from the film Mud. And it's about a tree poisoner. It's based on the Larry Brown novel Joe. And it's just a book that I've been a huge fan of, contemporary Southern literature, and it was an opportunity for Cage to do a very restrained performance, something that the character he plays is not like anything he's done in his very eccentric career. This is something that has really great gravity, along with the best of his work, I think, and so I'm very proud of it, and hoping audiences respond to it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Good talking to you.